Everyone, it's Matt, and welcome to the Good Trouble Show. It has been a freaking technical nightmare today. We've had, I'll tell you all about it in a second. But anyway, Matt, welcome to the Good Trouble Show. Today, journalist Christopher Sharp will join us to break down what has been happening in the world of politics and UFOs. But first, do us a solid and hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. We promise things work technically better than they have today. Also, leave us a comment and let us know what you think about this interview. We are also on all podcasting platforms. Just search for The Good Trouble Show with Matt Ford. Also, your financial support enables us to bring you this show, hopefully technically working most of the time. You can become a Patreon member for the monthly price of a Starbucks coffee. Go to www.patreon.com/The Good Trouble Show and become a Patreon supporter. Finally, on YouTube, Super Chats are open and they are a great way to show your financial support. We very much appreciate it. Our guest today has been putting the mainstream media to shame when it comes to the biggest story in the history of humanity. Please welcome journalist and founder of the Liberation Times, Christopher Sharp. Let's see if this thing's working and we're on air.
Hey there, I'm coming at you from my phone. So
God, what a freaking wreck. Let's see, asking is audio okay there. Matt, your voice is cracking up a bit. There's a distorted echo in the background, FYI. Well, I think we're going to probably have to, let's see, we can hear you both. Audio is good, audio is great. We hear you. Audio is good to me. Slightly choppy, but tolerable. Okay, yeah. So this is, Chris, you're still there, right? Or did I lose you? Oh, you're still there.
Yeah. I'm still here. Yes, that's correct.
So I'm going to tell you a really bizarre story. About 2 hours before we start the show, I test everything. We don't use the website that's used for podcasting. We have this whole broadcast set up, which of course is much more technical. Anyway, about 2 hours, we get on and check all the Skype audio connections. And then about 15 minutes before you come on, my wife is up on our top of our hill on the property. And she's like, look outside, there's this black helicopter circling the house. And it's unmarked. So, I'm getting this on my phone, but by the time I see it, she says it's gone. Anyway, it all went to shit after that. I mean, it's probably coincidence. I get on my little Flight 24 radar thing, and there's no helicopter there. So it's actually the third time this has happened. So I don't know if it has anything to do with this, but we've never had these sorts of audio issues today. It's just been insane. Anyway, enough of that. So so I think we're okay. All right, very good. Well, hopefully we'll be all right. Chris, what's going on, man? I hope things are technically better in England than they are in Los Angeles, California.
Oh, it's never been better in the UK, Forgive me, I'm trying to sound positive. No, it's dreadful. It's dreadful in the UK. The only thing going our way at the moment is weather, inflation, interest rates. We got the whole shebang at the moment, Leader who's absolutely out of touch goes around on a helicopter, and I think today he was asked in an interview whether he was living in a parallel universe, our Prime Minister. Never seen it so bad in the UK before.
I feel like I'm living in a alternate universe today. It's so we've had orbs show up above the house, although it's been well over like a month. But I guess it was about like 2 months ago. Same thing. My wife was outside doing some gardening, and she's like, "There's this black helicopter flying around," and we don't have weird stuff like that happen. And I didn't think about it at the time, but I mean, who knows? These days, nothing would surprise me. So let's get right back to it. And apologies for our 30-minute delay. We're not used to doing it that way. Okay, so anyway, I thought what we would do is dig into your three articles, and let's see here. So. So the first one was let's see here, your bombshell letter reveals Canadian politicians' concerns of covert UFO programs involving, let's see, who is that? Canada and Five Eyes. So what is that about?
Yes. So some months ago, Larry Maguire MP in Canada, who has historically had some interest in the UFO topic, wrote a very bombshell letter to their kind of like version of the Secretary of Defense in Canada, who is Anita Anand, and he was basically saying that look, you need to look into a foreign materials program, which is part of like a wider Five Eyes program, whereby they're basically retrieving and reverse engineering UAPs. So that was pretty bombshell, him saying that, and he's basically saying that he seems to have some kind of knowledge that there's going to be some kind of announcement from AUKUS, which is it's a deeper alliance than Five Eyes, let's say, and AUKUS is just the USA, the UK, and Australia. So Canada is not part of AUKUS, basically. So it's an even deeper relationship. It's the Five Eyes, except from New Zealand and Canada. And he's basically suggesting that there's going to be some revelations regarding UAP and possibly these foreign material programs, specifically ones run from the USA, relating to UAP. And he's basically saying to Anita Anand that you need to come up with some. Firstly, you need to be read in, because one of the agencies in Canada is apparently involved in this. So you need to be read in firstly, and then you need to come up with a communications plan, because if this comes out from AUKUS, Canada may be left in the dark regarding this. And I can also say that AUKUS started out with it's basically like it's a defense and technological agreement. It was created, from my understanding, in 2021, and it's to help Australia gain nuclear submarines. So it would be like the UK and the US basically sharing nuclear technology to help Australia get to that point whereby it can have a nuclear powered submarine fleet to counter Chinese influence in Asia. So that's really big news. And since then, there's been other agreements, technological agreements and innovation agreements signed by AUKUS as well. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like if you did want to kind of like reveal some kind of like new technology derived from UAP, AUKUS might be a good platform to kind of make such revelations. So it's a really, really interesting story. And Larry Maguire, when he actually wrote the letter, which he actually emailed to Anita Anand, he actually he copied in someone very, very interesting. So I'm going to my story right now just to check the names. But it was someone who, from my understanding, is apparently involved in such programs. So Major General Michael Wright, Commander of Canadian Forces Intelligence Command, Canadian Forces Intelligence Command, basically. So apparently he has knowledge of this. So it was by no accident that he's being copied into this. But yeah, I mean, I think Larry Maguire has some very, very good connections, and I believe that someone who is in the loop has basically briefed him on this, and he's felt so compelled to act on that knowledge that he's actually written by their kind of like version of the Secretary of Defense. So
I put up the letter. Oh, sorry to interrupt. Yeah, so I put up the letter here. So this is Larry Maguire, MP, and this has been confirmed as real. This isn't a fake or anything like that, right?
Correct. Yeah, multiple journalists have confirmed it to be accurate. It actually was released some months ago, actually, on Twitter. I think back then, like, no one knew if it was real or anything like that. I definitely didn't see it. I mean, the first time I saw it was when I was speaking to Jeremy Corbell, who's a great guy, by the way. I love Jeremy so much, by the way. And he showed me it last week, and he said, "Look, this is going to be on Weaponized. Let's get an article out as well." I was like, "Hell yeah!" And it was really kind of like quite shocking seeing this. And I think that other journalists knew it was real, but didn't want to report it because they were uncertain as to whether the information, the allegations actually made by Larry Maguire were actually correct. But Jeremy was very, very confident, through speaking to his sources, that such allegations are pretty much on the mark here. And I've actually had that corroborated by other sources as well. So that's why he basically decided, look, I'm just going to go ahead with this, and put it on Weaponized. So it's a really, really, yeah, I think that it kind of makes sense, because Five Eyes was founded in, I believe it was like 1941, and I think Canada actually joined in around 1948. So if you're going through a period where you're discovering that there was like potential non-human intelligence crashing around the place, basically, and leaving their craft, I mean, the Five Eyes is a pretty good network to actually kind of like retrieve such craft, because you cover a lot of the world with Five Eyes in terms of these nations. Canada, second biggest country in the world, Australia,
Right.
huge country, United Kingdom. We have lots of foreign overseas possessions still, and actually the area that we cover by sea is pretty huge still. And then obviously the USA and New Zealand. So and then also you've got to take into account the diplomatic clout of these nations as well, like the UK with the Commonwealth. And I don't know, your imagination starts to go places, thinking, well, actually Five Eyes would make sense to kind of like have a coordinated kind of like effort to retrieve and reverse engineer these things. So yeah, I mean, I'm currently waiting for a response on this from the Canadian Defence Ministry. So hopefully we get a line on this. Has Anand, has she chosen to actually take any of the actions that Maguire has basically recommended to her? So yeah, it's hugely interesting. So let's see where this one goes.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be great. And yeah, so our friends Jeremy Corbell and George Knapp, who I have not met yet, but these guys, I sort of compare them to like the dynamic duo, like the Batman and Robin of UFO disclosure. So I don't know, is George Batman and Jeremy's Robin? I'm not sure.
Oh my gosh, I don't know how I'd put them. It's
they're great. I mean,
I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble from Jeremy or George, so I don't want to take sides on this. And I'm appearing on Coast to Coast in around over 2 weeks. I think around 3 weeks' time, I'm going to be on air with George. So
that's fantastic.
I
all right.
Comfortable moments with Batman or Robin, on this. But they're great guys. Jeremy, like he will go through things with me. Like if I need a story check or something like that, he'll spend the time, like 40 minutes or something like that, just going through it with me, just like making sure it's okay. Like this guy, like he's like an artist. He is an artist, basically. That's kind of like part of his background, and I think he did jiu-jitsu as well. So he's a deeply passionate person, and he's not your conventional journalist, and I think that's brilliant because he brings some unique kind of traits to this topic and how he investigates it, and to see his mind at work and how he's obsessive over the details, and it's remarkable to see, and speaking to a lot of my sources who know him, he is trusted by a lot of people, and some really, really high ups as well. They trust Jeremy because he's just, not only a remarkable journalist and filmmaker, but he's a great guy as well, and he's someone that you can trust. So yeah,
Yeah,
he's
you know
brilliant.
what?
Love it.
He was actually, excuse me. Yeah, when I saw what he was up to on this particular topic, I was like, I want to do that. I want to be a part of this and message on it. So Jeremy is really, and I hope to have him on the show sometime soon. But he's really been an inspiration in what he does. And one of the things that really sticks out, one of all the many things that he said, and this guy is freaking energy. I wish you could bottle it. I could use some of it. His whole saying of, if you want to be trusted, be trustworthy. And that really stuck with me in the beginning. So when we began to get into this space and develop our contacts in various areas, that was something that really is a mantra that I live by, and I know as a journalist you certainly can appreciate that, because when people speak to you on background, they can't go on record because they might lose their job or whatnot. They have to trust they have to trust that you're going to respect their request for it to be on background and not reveal sources, and be trustworthy in what you say. And I think that is so important. And obviously, people trust you. Your connections are really really impressive. And as I've been saying for a long time, the mainstream media is completely asleep at the wheel, or in bed with the DOD, as I sometimes think is the case with Julian Barnes and the New York Times. But people like George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell and their fantastic Weaponized podcast, I freaking love that. If you're not watching the Weaponized podcast, you're missing out, seriously. And then also the work you're doing, Mark Von Vennen, I can't even say it, Von Rennenkamp. You guys are really doing some cutting edge work. So let's now that we're off the Batman subject, and I would pay $1 million for them to have them show up on their Weaponized podcast in a Batman Robin outfit, and we could wager on who's going to be who. So the next thing I want to talk about is your other article that came out, which was this Pentagon unable to confirm or deny discovery of materials originating from non-human intelligence or unknown origin with secret programs. And we tried to get Susan Go to make an appearance on our show, and she told me to go to hell. So she won't. I'm joking. Anyway, but so you had been interacting with her on this subject, and you mentioned she's actually been very quite nice to you and helpful, which in someone in your job, that is obviously very, very important. So yeah, give us the skinny. That was a really big story, I think. And what I thought was interesting was when you published what you published, because she wouldn't. Well, you know what? I don't want to give it away. So take us to the beginning of where this all started.
Yeah, let me just try to summarize it for you because it's quite technical. So in essence, I'd asked a number of questions from Susan Goff to get some specific answers from her relating to whistleblower claims, relating to non-human intelligence craft. And she's basically come back to me, and in essence what she said that the AARO has investigated and looked into the programs brought up by the whistleblowers, and they're unable to substantiate and verify that any of these are actually involved in extraterrestrial materials. So she's basically saying that the whistleblowers have come forward, we've looked at them, and we're yet to verify being a very, very key word, that any of these derive from extraterrestrial origin. Basically, that's what she's saying in terms of materials. So what I did is I found that quite interesting. So what I did is I basically, I said to her, I said, look, can you please confirm whether that also includes non-human origin, not just extraterrestrial? Because Dave Grusch was very, very specific when he was actually stating where the origin of these things were from. He was basically saying non-human origin. So, it seemed to me very interesting that the Pentagon was actually using the term extraterrestrial instead of the term that Dave Grusch was using. So basically, like after I said that, Susan Goff came back and said to me, she said, look, we're not going to comment any further on what we said publicly. So I said, look, because we were coming back, back and forth with one another quite quickly. I said to her, look, are you able to confirm or deny, whether anything has been discovered of non-human origin? And I waited and waited, and she never came back. So I thought, well, actually, this is really interesting because, the Pentagon is very, very on top of the terminology that it uses. They would have seen a Dave Grusch interview, and they're not actually using the terminology that he uses. So basically, I said, look, they're unable to confirm or deny that they've discovered anything of non-human origin. So I put that out, and then what happened is the Pentagon panicked when it got out.
Awesome.
And and Susan Goff said, yes, I can confirm that it does include that. So she basically did a complete 360 after that story came out. Said it does apply the term non-human origin. But in my original correspondence, I actually did also mention whether she could confirm that it also includes unknown origin, because I thought the term, verify was very, very interesting. So, if I'm Sean Kirkpatrick and I'm looking at a program, and even if someone says to me, this is of non-human origin, or we don't know where it comes from, we don't think it's from here, Sean Kirkpatrick, in his mind, he could still say, well, actually, I need to independently verify this,
Right.
That's probably how the process works, because, he's gone on and on about science, about how you've got to use the scientific method and stuff like that. So undoubtedly, he wouldn't just take someone's word for it. He would actually have to verify it himself.
Right.
That this material, whatever they've got, relates to it. So as of now, Susan Goff is unable to confirm nor deny that Sean Kirkpatrick has found anything of unknown origin, which is quite interesting. But let's see what she comes back with. I mean, I said she's got until Wednesday, basically. So I've given her more than enough time this time, so she can't complain that I've not given her enough time. But look, sometimes how it works with the Pentagon is you have to bounce them into doing this stuff because they won't be proactive in providing you this information otherwise. And this is how I managed to confirm that Lou was contracted to Space Force. People had been emailing them for months and months, basically, not getting anything from them because they did not want to confirm that Lou was actually contracted to Space Force, because it didn't look good on them, basically. This guy that they were basically trouncing upon, his reputation, basically suggesting by the information they're putting out that he was lying, he still had clearances to work for Space Force. And I wonder what he was doing for Space Force. So I had to make an official complaint because they would not answer the questions. So I copied in, I think it was Senator Gillibrand, maybe. I copied in the DOD-IG as well, saying, look, you are not coming back with me with a response. You're stalling. This is an official complaint. And then that's how I managed to get the answer from them. That's how you have to go about it sometimes because they won't do it in their own regard. And I think it's very interesting as well that part of Susan Goff's portfolio isn't just the AARO and UAP. It's also the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Intelligence and Security, which is Ronald Moultrie's office, which is where Gary Reed used to fall within. So I find that very interesting as well. That she's representing both.
I hear she's also representing another version of OUSD where the D stands for disinformation. That's I know you can't comment, but so here's a question. So when you posted this article, how long was it? Because as soon as you posted it, we immediately put it up. How long was it between that period of time and before you got an email from Susan Go?
Gosh, I'd have to have a look. I think it was about maybe 8 hours or something
Oh,
like
wow,
that.
it did
before
take
she
that long.
actually-
Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't.
yeah.
I couldn't remember if it was just like 10 minutes or something like that, because the only thing I sort of the picture in my head, a while back, back in the spring, I got a private tour of the Pentagon and couldn't believe how freaking long it takes to walk from point A to point B. So I sort of had in my mind that when your article came out, people were like running down the hallway to bang on our door to go, what the hell did you just tell Chris Sharp? So now one other thing that I thought was interesting, was this whole Title 50 thing. So where she did come back and say that essentially that the Title 50 thing isn't that big of a deal. She said, quote, AARO has been rigorously investigating alleged programs mentioned by individuals who have come forward as part of the congressionally mandated historical review. To date, AARO has not been denied access to any United States government program, past or present, during the course of its work. Now, when I was actually driving back to the house from an event that I had earlier this afternoon, I was listening to Ross Coulthart's excellent podcast, and he brought up this point with shit, it's gonna kill me. His co-host, Bryce Zabel. Sorry about that. But he had mentioned something that I thought was interesting, that Ross Coulthart did, that essentially people in other programs would have to come to him, like he can receive information or something like that, but he can't go after it or something. Essentially, the way it's written, stuff has to come to Kirkpatrick. Does that make sense? I may have misunderstood it.
Yeah, so he can receive information. To this day, he's not actually been forced into receiving any information. So he can be read in on such programs, but he can't task and direct, basically. So he can only go so far. He can't say, but you got to do this, you got to do that. And it's kind of like, oh, just read me into this, and they'll just give them standard response. Like, look, you're in a legal UAP program that, has not been communicated properly to Congress, And, I'm Sean Kirkpatrick. I'm like, you read me into this. So what is this program? A few people say that you're dealing with non-human technology, and they will basically probably give a standard response, basically. Because, look, we're getting into my third story, but, the Intelligence Authorization Act states that such programs need to be spelled out explicitly, that they're dealing with what they're dealing with, basically. So it seems what's happening is that they're using language that covers up or makes it look really, really boring and technical, basically, when in actual fact there are special access programs dealing with non-human intelligence. And yeah, I think that's sometimes what's going on. So I think, I think that's one of the problems of how it's covered up. It's not that such programs may not be communicating to the Congress and to the AARO. It's actually likely how they spin themselves. What do? You could say that, I don't know, you could say that for instance, let's say that you're running like a factory, using slave labor or something like that, running some African nation. If someone says, so what do? You're going to say, yeah, I'm a multinational corporation. We give, we support these charities. This is our turnover. Our goods go around the world and stuff like that. And you'll give yourself the spin, basically. And it's what you leave out.
Right.
The fact that your workforce is slave labor and there's been various accidents and stuff like that. It's kind of like I could imagine it like that, basically. It's kind of like how they describe themselves, but what they actually leave out when they're actually saying something, or what they cover up in terms of the language that they're using. So that's how I can imagine it sometimes. But I mean, this is just conjecture at this point.
Of course.
It could be that they've not communicated clearly what they're actually doing, or it could be that, let's say Kirkpatrick has discovered something of unknown origin and just needs to verify it. I mean, who knows? This is the issue that we have. We just don't really know what's going on on the inside. But what I would say is that Kirkpatrick is he's a scientist. It's kind of like when you have a crime taking place or something like that. You need a detective. You don't go into Oxford University's science department and say, we need a scientist to investigate this crime, or to go through his. It's just, I mean, it's not in his DNA. I mean, this is just part of the issue. Sometimes you need someone like Louis Elizondo just to kind of like knock down doors and stuff like that and get stuff done. It's certainly interesting.
Well, and the thing that's interesting too, David Grusch, who was not running AARO, of course, obviously, he was able to find all this stuff, so if he can find it, and there's no reason that Kirkpatrick couldn't have found it as well, is my understanding. I mean, that makes sense, right? I seem to remember.
Depends if he wants to.
Say that again?
It depends if he wants to or not.
Well, and
as I said, this is the whole question about his intent. Firstly, it's his ability. Is he able to do that as a scientist? Does he actually have that in his DNA to knock down those doors and stuff like that, and actually know where to look and know what to say and know how to force himself upon the information? I don't know. So there's that you could question his willingness to do so,
right?
Or you could also say that he works at OUSDINS. Basically like Louis Elizondo, this is not his exact words, by the way, but he suggested that they've got a history of persecuting whistleblowers. So, let's say that any information you find out could implicate your boss, Ronald Moultrie, or, David M. Taylor, who did sit under him, wasn't an ally either, or Gary Reed and Tara Jones. If it could implicate them, then maybe you don't want to do that because you don't want to upset, the people that you're working for, because, it's a really big deal, that the National Defense Authorization Act stated that the AARO now has to report operationally, anyhow, to the ODNI and to the Secretary, the Deputy Secretary of Defense as well, Kathleen Hicks's office. But that's still not being implemented. As far as I know, they're still actually reporting everything to the OUSD and INS. So it's still under Ronald Moultrie. And, it's been almost 7 months now, and they've still not got out of that office, which has always been the big sticking point, basically. The fact that it was within this office, it's got a reputation of obstructing the truth and obfuscating this topic and persecuting whistleblowers, which has always been a crucial issue. So I don't know why that's not been done yet. It's so big, that issue is. So I don't know what's going on there.
Well, yeah, and listening to Ross's podcast, Need to Know, earlier, he made that exact same point. And if you think back to the sort of Senate hearing where Dr. Quadcopter, said that there was I got some heat from that from some other. I don't know if you want to call them podcasts or not, but anyway, he got a lot of heat for his performance era, and we spoke about how this really discouraged whistleblowers. But there was one question, and I don't remember the exact question that Senator Gillibrand asked of Kirkpatrick, and it essentially dealt with him still answering to Ronald Moultrie, who, by the way, was on the board of advisory board of Battelle Memorial Institute, but for some reason that's the one thing he doesn't have on his LinkedIn profile. But anyway, yeah, Kirkpatrick was very, very measured and thoughtful in how he responded to Senator Gillibrand. And when I saw this, I immediately thought, this guy is being careful not to throw his boss, Ronald Moultrie, under the bus or to say anything that would piss the guy off. So if he's like afraid to like answer like a basic question or careful in how he answers a very basic question as far as you're still under Ronald Moultrie, I can't even imagine if this guy like discovered a crash retrieval program that, as you said, would possibly criminally implicate people in OUSDINS. What is the incentive for him to go and do that? Here's a guy, he's at the end of his career, he's ready to retire, receive his, big fat, six-figure retirement or whatever. And obviously the right thing for him to do is to do this, but you have to look at it practically. Is he gonna blow all of that, piss his boss off? The way it's structured is just completely wrong. And also going back into what you were saying as well, you don't hire a scientist to be the prosecutor in a criminal investigation. You hire a prosecutor, an attorney. You put somebody in the seat that is the right person for the job. You're not going to go to your local university and hire somebody with their doctorate in dronology to come in and be the head of a DoD program. And the other thing to also as well, he is a subject matter expert. He, according to regulation in the OPM Office of Personnel Management, a subject matter expert is not supposed to be running a DoD program. It has to be a SES, a senior executive level. Anyway, but yeah, that's what I wonder is does he really want to? Does he really want to get to the bottom of this? And I'm very, very skeptical.
Yeah, they saw it as like another blue book. They wanted another Hynek. They wanted a scientist, basically, who would, pretend that there wasn't something called a National Reconnaissance Office and National Geospatial Intelligence Agency and various other capabilities that basically see UAP all the time and know exactly what we're dealing with here. Instead, he basically wants to look at, videos and do Mick West style analysis, basically.
Right.
And it just seems so amateurish, really. We've got technology that goes beyond that, and I think it's pretty clear from the Dave Grusch article that the National Reconnaissance Office is very much well aware of this, and from my understanding, the Space Forces as well.
Right.
And instead we get like some guy basically saying, oh yeah, this pilot thought he saw something, but yeah, it was an airplane. Yeah, we know that a lot of UAP cases, probably 95% maybe, at one point were actually very prosaic. But I mean, I think we've got enough technology now to actually go a lot further from just video analysis. It's just preposterous, really. There's so many other sensor systems and capabilities to actually get data from and kind of like ascertain what this stuff is. It's just laughable, really. It really is.
It really is. And sorry, I had his name wrong. In the live stream of the episode, I referred to him as Sean Kirk Quadcopter. So I did have that off. And here's one of the things I can tell you is the whistleblowers that I've debriefed. There was one in particular that there were three people on the other end of the interview. It was Kirkpatrick and two of his people. And at one point, this whistleblower said to him, look, if you're relying on the scientific method, you're not going to get to the bottom of this, because this stuff has a physics that we just simply don't understand. What did Dr. Kirkpatrick do? He starts arguing with the dude, starts lecturing him on wormholes and a couple other things, and this whistleblower, who I can't reveal his name, he was just blown away, and he found that the interview was amateurish. He had offered names of other people, that leadership on the military base that this person was involved with, and they weren't interested. The way he put it was that Kirkpatrick and his team it was like they were going through the motions and just wanted to get off the damn phone. Other whistleblowers that I've spoken with have had different experiences, but I've never heard a good thing. So when Kirkpatrick goes in on that hearing and says, there's no proof of, I don't know if it was extraterrestrial, I forgot what he said. It was a real slap in the face to these guys. And these are all men and women that have worn our uniform, so that have absolutely no, there's no incentive other than doing the right thing and for love of country for them to go and testify under oath, to AARO. So it's ridiculous. I personally think he's the wrong man for the job. I think the fact that it's still under OUSDINS. Also, he does not. Part of that the mandate as well was that there was supposed to be a sort of co-lead or something from the intelligence community specifically. I don't remember the exact title. That person has not been named. Do you know anything about that, or know what I'm referring to? I'm a little fuzzy on it. But
Yeah, and they would have Title 50 authorities basically. But look, as long as Kirkpatrick is the director, and as long as it sits within the OUSDINS, it's going to be doomed for failure, unfortunately. It is doomed for failure. And I've heard similar stories from whistleblowers. It's very, very amateurish, not using secure phone lines, having to pay their way to go.
That's crazy.
Not recording conversations. It's just it's really, really amateur. It really does make you worry. And and the fact is that he doesn't seem interested to investigate. It shows that he's got a bias already. And when it comes to kind of our understanding of physics, I mean, it's just silly. I mean, it's something that repeats itself through the human story. That we think we understand the universe, we've got it all sorted out, and then something comes about that tests our limits of understanding. So we try to then slightly change our existing model so it fits within that model still. I mean, it was the same with Galileo's time, when Galileo basically said the Earth orbits around the sun, because I think he saw that, that Venus was orbiting around as well. Whereas before it used to be that everything was orbiting around the Earth, and the Earth is the center of the universe. They came up with outstanding kind of theories, basically, that just to try to find a way around it, how to explain that, it seemed that we were, and other planets were orbiting around the sun instead. It was just it just repeats itself all this time, and there'd be one point that someone say, oh yeah, nothing's ever going to travel fast in the speed of a horse or something like that, and then that gets proven wrong. It's just humans, it's how a lot of people see things, and we like to wrap ourselves up in these blankets, that we call science sometimes, and our understanding of it, so that there's no surprises, and we can say, well, this fits within our existing models. We may have to reinterpret it a little bit, but otherwise, it's Yeah.
Yeah, but
And I think that Kirkpatrick's very, very thin-skinned as well.
yeah, and when when a whistleblower, somebody that has worn the uniform of our United States military, calls and it gets lectured on wormholes. I mean, come on, give me a break. And the other thing too, it's like, and I'm sure the guy is incredibly brilliant. He wouldn't be where he is now, but you have to look at the question of leadership. It's like, how long are we into this thing and there's still no public-facing website? He's essentially the equivalent, I think, of a colonel. And if I were like, say, I worked for the FBI, and this is before the tip line came out, and Congress mandated me to open up the FBI tip line, and then, like, was it 7 months later or whatever? I still haven't put up. I haven't published what the number is for the tip line. I mean, that's again. I think to me it seems like it's a failure of leadership, or it is direct obfuscation. I can never say that damn word. By OUSDINS. And as you stated earlier, Lou Elizondo, he said, I don't have the exact quote, but he explicitly said OUSDINS has been the one that has continually lied to the public. They are, Ronald Moultrie's department has been the one that has engaged in administrative terrorism, targeting of people's clearances. And, at the end of the day, I always say these people, they work for us. It's not the other way around. And you don't have a democracy if stuff is being hidden from congressional oversight. It's just crazy. So enough of that rant. Let's move on to the latest news. Again, I don't know, because you have a new child, I understand. So I understand you're probably not getting a whole lot of sleep, but you're managing to crank out these articles in record time. I don't know, maybe you're a hybrid or something. I'm not sure where you're getting all this all this energy. But anyway, so yes, your latest article, which just came out, Senate Intelligence Committee proposes amnesty to defense contractors for disclosure of, I can't quite read it here, something exotic materials in approved language. And also want to point out too, Dean Johnson, I don't have his Twitter handle handy, but he has also put out a really fantastic analysis of this new legislation. And this is, by and large, I think, thanks to Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who was on our show. We're huge fans of hers, and she's really done some really amazing work, as have other people in Congress, Marco Rubio and Tim Burchett, who we keep asking to come on our show. We want to have them on. Anyway, so give us the rundown on what happened with this. I think this was really pretty substantial news.
Yeah, so the Senate Intelligence Committee has unanimously approved its new Intelligence Authorization Act, and it contains some really, really bombshell language, basically, that we've not seen before. It uses the terms all non-Earth origin or exotic, unidentified, anomalous phenomenon material. Like, when did you ever think you'd hear that, like, in legislation, and kind of like also craft as well and stuff like that, and breakthrough methods of propulsion and stuff like that. It's pretty phenomenal, to be fair. And in essence, what it's saying is that if you're a special access program of some kind, or you're doing activities basically related to UAP, and you've not actually, you've got to come forward, and actually, you've got to state explicitly that you've, what you're doing basically, and if you are running kind of like activities related to UAP that have not been explicitly confirmed, then you're not going to get funding anymore. Basically, the Congress will pull away appropriations, So that's really, really big. Basically, it's saying
Huge.
that we're going to take away your funding.
Right. Yeah, no, it definitely is. This amnesty. One of the interesting things here: no criminal or civil actions if defense contractors comply. They will not face any sort of criminal or civil actions to potential illegal UAP programs. And I think we can all agree that there's been a lot of illegal stuff that has been going on that I think, in my opinion, some of it's going to land people in jail for sure. So now this doesn't happen until 2023, right? Until the 2023 NDAA is signed into law, correct?
Yeah. So that's the second part of it, basically. So there's an amnesty period for persons. It could be organisations, for instance. But what I've honed in on is defence contractors. It could mean defence contractors. So basically, if you've got something UAP related derived from government, then what could happen? If you've got an amnesty period. So if you're Lockheed Martin, let's say that you started work for Lockheed Martin, let's say 10 years ago, you've worked your way up and you're a vice president now, and you've discovered that you've got this stuff that was given to your corporation, 50 years ago. It's not your fault that it's there. You didn't sign this agreement, which, by the way, is a big burden as well, because if anyone finds out about it, you could get your ass sued, because you would have unfair advantage, in terms of contracts and stuff like that, against your competitors, and a host of various other reasons probably as well. So basically, you're like, oh crap, like this is terrible. We could get in trouble if anyone finds out about this. And then also, they're so restricted, these programs are, that you're not even making any progress of these materials, UAP related materials like craft, for instance, because it's that compartmentalized. You need such clearances to actually study it that, you can't get the best talent. So for example, from my understanding, you can't get the necessary clearances if you've done any form of drugs. Well, let me tell you something. Some of the best scientists in history have done drugs.
Absolutely,
regularly do so to this day. So it's basically you can't get the best minds working or anything. So this could be something that they might bite. I think if Lockheed does have a program, let's say, related to UAP related materials, then I think this could be a really, really good opportunity to come forward and declare what they actually do have in this amnesty period. And I would say that it could happen. And yeah, we are talking about 2023. So what could happen? So the Intelligence Authorization Act, like the National Defense Authorization Act, needs to be signed into law by President Joe Biden. So that will usually take place before January, of the next year. So take place before January 2024. But I believe the Intelligence Authorization Act has actually come later before. But there's also the chance as well that, last year, for instance, the Intelligence Authorization Act language was wrapped up within the National Defense Authorization Act language. So, it could be before January as well. So it's difficult to predict. But if it does go through before January, then we're looking at, because they've got like a 60, I believe they've got like a 60-day deadline. So we're talking about before March 2024. Right. You may have some information come forwards from the likes of Lockheed. And Michael Schellenberger wrote in his public article, that's a Substack public, that it seemed that a vice president of a major aerospace corporation did actually approach the government to expand the amount of workforce that could actually work on them so they can make more progress. And apparently that vice president was flatly told no by the US military. and in a very, very rude way as well. So that tells me that, look, that there is a potential appetite for this, and I believe that I think there is something to this, and it's something that we can keep an eye on. I think there's always been this myth, to some extent, that defense corporation, contractors have been against showing this technology and stuff like that. It's like, really? Because if they did manage to show this technology that they have, it would do wonders for their shares and stuff, and it would make them a lot of money if they were able to get it out. So, but it's nuanced, it could be that, there may be some people in these corporations that are like, yes, let's get this out, and others like, I'm not so sure if we should. So it could be a mixed bag. Then you can have some defense contractors being like, yes, let's get it out, and then some defense contractors being like, no, let's not get it out. So, I think that's really, really important. So it's definitely something to keep an eye on. It really is. But what I wonder is like how it's going to be enforced. So, if you do know that Lockheed, for example, does have these types of programs, and they don't come forward, then what do you do? Do you raid Lockheed's headquarters or something, or the Skunk Works? I don't know. I don't know what they do. So I'd be interested to know kind of what they would do in that situation.
Well, the thing I'm curious about too, like what are the legal repercussions of that? Does somebody from OUSDINS, Mr. Battelle, go to jail, or like, what exactly is that? And the other thing too is reading here a little analysis. So one of the things, of course, we spoke about these the contractors must voluntarily disclose such information to the AARO office within 60 days. Defense contractors falling under the purview of the new law must make the disclosed information or materials available for assessment, analysis, and inspection within 180 days. So one of the things that I'm wondering is, so this great legislation that is being added in there by Senator Gillibrand and her fantastic staff. What is going to prevent, for instance, let's say Lockheed Martin does have it, and they've wanted to, they're fighting to get this out. So now OUSDINS or whatever branch of the government sees this stuff and goes to Lockheed Martin and says, hey, we want all of this back. We want you to sanitize the site. And then they move it somewhere else and find another way of hiding it. This seems to like give them a lot of notice. It's not like they can go and just all of a sudden do a site inspection. They have some warning to start stashing this stuff somewhere else. Is that a valid concern, do you think?
Yeah, I think it is a very, very valid concern. In my opinion, I think that if they have been given the locations where these programs are, let's get the FBI or something involved. Let's raid these facilities and have a look. I mean, this is really serious. I mean, it's very serious, because if you develop propulsion technologies from these craft that could be a game changer in terms of energy and propulsion technology and stuff like that, that could revolutionize the world for better, having that information hidden is a really, really big thing, and as I see it, it's kind of like, high risk, high reward. It's kind of like you're going out on a limb here and investigating, non-human origin craft and stuff like that. So there's a risk. You're like, oh, what if I'm wrong? But the rewards far outweigh the risks, to humanity. So I don't know. In my opinion, I think they should just raid the facility and see what you have, But maybe there's some behind the scenes agreements with some aerospace contractors. Maybe they actually have an understanding that, look, we know they're there. Let's not raid you. Let's go about this in the right way, because the last thing you want is to have like a major kind of like lawsuit against the biggest defense contractor in the world, which
It's not
has
good
a
optics.
vital role to play. Well, Lockheed Martin has a vital role to play in not just US security, but like global security. I use the example like the place where the UK had its nuclear deterrent stored, which is Aldermaston, which is near where I grew up. It's called AWE. The facility is. It was up until I think about 7 years ago run by Lockheed Martin. A defense US defense contractor. So it just shows you what a vital role they have in kind of protecting global interests and stuff. So the last thing you want is to bring them down. So maybe there is this understanding. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. The other point as well. It's like if I hope some of the whistleblowers experience when speaking to AARO and this sort of like disinterest in their testimony in many ways. I wonder if whistleblowers that are going to AARO with these programs with information on these programs are receiving a similar level of disinterest. So you have to ask yourself, is Kirkpatrick really knocking on the doors? I certainly hope so, because to not do that really flies in the face of congressional intent. And I think especially OUSD INS under Moultrie, they're completely flying in the face of congressional intent, and that's not what our democracy is based on. Now, this
I just come back to you on that.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd say, does Congress have the means to knock on such doors? Because look, these whistleblowers came to Congress before, so I would argue that the likes of Rubio and Mark Warner probably have more resources and capability to look into this stuff than the AARO does. So I think that's important to take into account as well.
That is a very, very important point. Especially these senators that sit on the Senate Armed Services Committee, Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. That is a very good point. So in essence, there's really no excuse anywhere that our representatives and AARO cannot go looking into this. Now, all of the, especially this recent stuff, has come out of the whistleblower David Grusch. So for folks that have not seen this, let's watch this little clip here.
When you say crash retrieval, what do you mean?
These are retrieving non-human origin technical vehicles, call it spacecraft if you will. It's probably not the right parlance, but no kidding, non-human, exotic origin vehicles that have either landed or crashed.
We have spacecraft from another species.
We do, yeah.
How many?
Oops, sorry, I hit that early. So that was Ross's exclusive interview with David Grusch, the whistleblower, former intelligence official that has served this country with duty and honor for a very long time, has held our nation's highest security clearances, has delivered or was part of the delivery of the presidential daily brief, and this Dave's credentials are you just can't touch them. And the professional debunkers, the debunking industry, as I like to refer to them, all they were able to do is kind of like try and tarnish his name. I know Stephen Greenstreet was saying something like, well, he knows this guy, and this guy was on Skinwalker Ranch, and this other guy on Skinwalker Ranch said he saw a werewolf or whatever. Therefore, that must mean Grusch is I don't know what they're saying. So there's been this sort of seemingly sort of like trying to find these debunkers have been trying to find some way to tear this guy down. And I want to get backing up a bit. So one of the videos that, a few of them I think that were put out on YouTube were sort of people dissecting his body language in the interview. And this interview is great. It's an hour long. Ross did a fantastic job. And I have to say, Dave Grusch, who who has given up his career to do the right thing and bring this out. I thought he did great on that interview. He was very calm, thoughtful, very deliberate in his messaging. Anyway, so folks have been putting up these videos, sort of going after his body language, and and I want to bring up this tweet and get your thoughts on this. And I just think it's terrible. So this is from one of the co-hosts of this Lou Reviews thing. I don't know what you want to call it, but it's from Rather Be Squidding. Ross Coulthard, on Dave's admission, he's autistic. I'm starting to feel very sorry for David Grusch. If this is true, it seems to me that he's really being taken advantage of by Coulthard and whoever is giving him information. The exciting story is turning really sad. I don't know about you, but that's probably one of the most disgusting things I think I've ever seen anybody say about someone like that. And I just wanted to get your thoughts first on what you think about that sort of messaging.
Autism is something very, very close to my heart. And children and adults who have autism, they suffer a lot of social stigma. They suffer a lot of bullying, and a lot of it takes the form of being patronizing as well. This is one of the most disgusting, appalling tweets ever, and I think Rather Be Squidding, that isn't his real name. It shows you what a coward this guy is. That he can't even use his real name. I think he should hang his head in shame and quit Twitter. This is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. It plays into the social stigma of autism, which has led to countless amounts of suffering and bullying, and it's a serious issue for society. This goes beyond the UFO topic here. This is just horrid language. It's patronizing, it's rude, it's stigmatizing of a condition that is real and many people do have. And I would also state as well that many of the best minds in the world have had autism. Elon Musk has autism, for example, has Asperger's, which I believe is what Dave has as well. Tim Burton, Bill Gates, some people suspect he has autism as well. But many of the greatest minds that have ever lived on this earth have had autism. And this also goes to the intelligence agencies as well, because especially with Asperger's, there's a dedication, almost fixation, basically, on finding the truth and knowing your topic as much as you can, basically. This is why I say that those people with autism, yeah, they have unique challenges, but they also have unique strengths, which is why it's so important to have a divergence of people, working in intelligence communities. I mean, if you go to the CIA, for example, a lot of the analysts and people like that you often will find will have Asperger's, because they have a dedication, they have an understanding. A lot of them seem to be very, very gifted with mathematics, and they're perfect for those roles, And it really, really upset me. It really upset me, and this is a topic really deep to my heart. I can, I've seen for myself the bullying, destruction that such patronizing and ignorant language can have, and I think that this is just this goes beyond. This is just a step too far now, because this is a topic that really, really does hurt people, and also it kills people as well. There was a case not so long ago, actually, of there was a student in a UK school. She had Asperger's, and just to give you a sense of how it does affect people, she was given her first ever detention. She was 15 years old. I think it was for a silly reason. She was given her first ever detention, and she fixated over that. She couldn't get it out of her head. And because of that, and she was so upset, she actually thought taking her own life would be better than actually going to detention. And I just don't think people understand the challenges that people with autism actually go through, nor do they understand the unique strengths that they have as well. And to suggest they have no agency and they're gullible, it's just like going back to the dark ages, and judging such conditions. And it's totally disgusting, and it spreads the worst kinds of stigma. I think this person rather be squidding. Look, I may have been too harsh before, but he should at least apologize for what he said there, because I think it's deeply upsetting to me, and it's deeply upsetting to a lot of other people as well. So let's hope that he does the right thing. I'm someone who does forgive. I believe in forgiveness. So maybe he shouldn't take down his Twitter, but if he can offer an apology, and maybe just kind of like educate himself on autism, I think that would mean a lot, and it'd go a long way as well. So let's see what he does though. But I think this is just it taken too far now in terms of this debunking and skeptic approach. Sorry, I get very, very passionate about this.
I mean, I don't think I could have said it any better myself. And it's just sad. And I would hope he will do the right thing and apologize about it. I mean, we all make mistakes. Lord knows I say some stupid things that I regret every now and then. But to basically insinuate that David Grusch does not have the mental wherewithal and is being taken advantage of by a well-known journalist, Ross Coulthart, who's a very kind man, and then also to insinuate that whoever has been telling him, coming to him when he was in his job, telling him things in a skiff about classified programs, that he was just being fed a bunch of BS because he's autistic. I mean, yeah, well, that's, as they say, birds of the same feather tend to flock together, and we're certainly seeing that with him. But I certainly hope he it's just disgusting. And I think in general, I think that's, you have people like Mick West. Obviously, I'm very critical of the professional debunking community and their logic. Mick seems like a very nice guy, and I do believe he believes what he says, and he's always very calm. Even when I've said things about him on Twitter, he's always been very respectful and very careful in what he says. And I do respect that. I may not agree with anything else, but I do respect him for having that. But then you have these other professional debunkers, or if you want to call them journalists, working at a tabloid, and the only thing that they can do is just try and tear David Grusch's credibility down, or make him look like he's got some kind of issue. It's just, yeah. It's I feel more sorry for those people that feel like they have to stoop to that level to try and win an argument, or if they're getting paid on the side, I don't know. I mean, I've always had that sort of theory. But anyway, yeah. Hopefully that will. We won't hear any more of that kind of talk. David Grusch doesn't deserve that. No one deserves that. He's a brilliant man. He's sacrificed a lot for his country, and he's really put his ass on the line. And he has credibility like no one does. And any of these debunkers that say so, it's just defies reason. I think it's ignorance at its best. Anyway, okay, so let's get a few questions in. We know it's late, and we appreciate you hanging through our little technical debacle here. A question from Jeff: do any of Chris's sources indicate whether there's a desire among private aerospace SAPs to expose material for broader research, or are they hostile?
I think there is an appetite. I think if you go back to, I think it was 2010, we had this vice president of an aerospace corporation, and he was basically told no by the U.S. military in rude terms of, as to whether you can open this up to more people. I think that's very interesting. Keep an eye on that story. I wonder what happened after he was told no.
I agree.
Wonder what happened after that. So I would keep an eye on it. I think that's something to watch out for. And I wonder what happened to that person.
Jeff also asked, does Chris have any reason to suspect that there are both semi-legal SAPs, i.e. in private aerospace, in addition to deep black or rogue SAPs that engage in highly illegal activities? Things like kill lists, things like that. I
do. I won't go any further, but it's my belief that, I think that's you're on the ball.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, the what we've been told as far as physical threats of violence, this is something that we've messaged on for months against these whistleblowers. These are people that the people that are engaging in this in these physical threats. These are folks that they should not be granted any level of amnesty. These folks should be in federal prison, and that's just full stop. Okay, super crazy.
And this is also why questions need to be asked of the DoD IG as well, because initially he provided information about UAP activities, illegal activities. The DoD IG, somehow that information got out and led to all kinds of threats and stuff like that towards Dave, which led him then to make the intelligence community Inspector General complaint. So I think, look, it may have come out through various ways, but this is deeply disturbing, especially if it did come out through the DoD IG, if it was leaked.
Got it. Okay. Agreed. So this is, excuse me, Super Crazy Movie Geek. 2 months from now, after supposed hearings, where do you think we will be in this disclosure saga?
2 months from now. So I've always said that it's so unpredictable right now what's going on. And I think there's momentum and there's so many moving parts. It's really, really difficult to predict. I think there will be another hearing, perhaps before the summer recess. There is definitely an intent to have it before the summer recess. There has been talk about doing a field hearing or something like that, but from my understanding, that is not correct, actually. So I don't expect it to be a field hearing in Florida, but I do expect there to be a hearing in the Oversight Committee, led by Representatives Luna and Burchett. But also I think that perhaps there may be some other committees as well who will be interested in holding hearings, and not just the Senate Intelligence and Armed Services committees. But I think some others who haven't expressed public interest so far may actually start taking a more public interest in this topic, let's say. So I think that's something to watch out for as well. But look, we've got some unknowns here that we're dealing with as well, and I think there is a raw momentum behind it now, and I'm starting to think to myself, like, I think we're heading to this point where there will have to be perhaps official acknowledgement from the President of the United States. Perhaps, let's say, perhaps if it moves in the correct momentum, but we do have momentum. We have the wind in ourselves at the moment. So let's see what happens. As I said before, it's we've got two sides. We've got one trying to push forwards, then we've got another side trying to push backwards as well.
Right.
And they've got all kinds of like tricks up their sleeves and stuff like that. So this isn't like a battle that's been, or this isn't a war that's been won yet, but we are winning many battles at the moment. So let's just hope that we get some more coming forward. But I do believe, hopefully, that we should get some more whistleblowers coming forward in public, perhaps even those who have actually worked on the craft themselves. So that'd be really interesting. Let's see if it happens. But from my understanding, such sources have spoken to journalists privately, let's say.
Understand. Okay, 2 more questions. We know it's getting late there. Christian Morales, why is AARO still under Moultrie? I thought that was supposed to change. Yeah, so why hasn't that changed? Have you heard anything as to why it's taking so long?
We can speculate, but I would say that they don't want to lose control of this, that they want control over the narrative. You know, even Gary Reed was involved in the UAP effort in terms of AOI-MSG, which predated the AARO. That they don't want to lose it because I think there's actually been some potential crimes committed within this office, and they don't want to lose. They don't want to lose control over it. Okay. And also they got Susan Goff there, who's the spokesperson from the DoD for UAP, for the AARO, and for OUSDINS. So they've got it very good at the moment, and they have complete control over this at the moment in terms of the investigation and what the public line is, and they don't want to lose control. They don't want to, and I would bet they will fight every tooth and inch to keep control of it, no matter what the will of Congress is.
Yeah, one thing that we would love to dig into is Stephen Greenstreet found, which was a good thing he did find. I applaud this kind of journalism. He found, found that AARO has spent 28 million or something like that out of their budget with this corporation called Sandcorp to run a influence, basically an influence operation. I'm blanking. I just brain farted on the acronym, but it's basically, it sounds like a disinformation campaign. So the thing you have to ask yourself, if AARO doesn't have a front-facing website, they certainly don't tweet, why are they spending 28 million for a contractor to run IPMO, Influence Perception Management Office? You also have to remember Susan Go too. She got her master's or doctorate in psychological warfare, and of course is working for OUSDINS. I mean, it's you can't make this stuff up. It's crazy. Yeah. We'll get into that another time. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, yeah. No, I would just say that, look, it's both external and internal comms as well. I would suggest that, comms, when you're communicating with internal stakeholders within government, and also liaising with staffers as well and stuff like that. So it's not just questions and communications coming from the outside and coming from the press. It's coming from the inside as well.
Exactly, and one thing that folks should that they should understand about an IPMO program. So essentially, the idea is, for instance, I could get hired by Sandcorp to sit and tweet disinformation out. I don't. I never would. None of my friends would ever do that, but they basically, it's a way you feed a company to hire or to pay on the side journalists or people on social media to press or to put out the media narrative that you're wanting, and there's no accountability to it. There is no law that prohibits an IPMO operation from sowing or spreading disinformation on social media. So that's why where I see some of these folks that are just popping out of the blue, that are these rabid debunkers, that is entirely within the realm, and I'm not saying that everybody on there is associated with it, but you have to keep in mind that is what a IPMO program does. That program is run under, even the one not specifically under AARO, under the Sandcorp contract. The Pentagon has an IPMO office, and it is run under Ronald Moultrie. So, that is under OUSDINS's purview. And I can't figure out why Sean Kirkpatrick would want to dole out $28 million or whatever it was that Green Street found to hire a outside contractor to run an influence and perception management office. Congress needs to look into that. That does not sound right. Okay, we're going to do one more question. We've got a couple more coming in, but I know it's getting late over in England. This last question from Super Crazy Movie Geek. Would AARO be allowed access to a SAP if the SAP is illegal?
Good question.
Yeah,
what
I'm not sure.
It could be, and I can only speculate here, is that you would go to this illegal SAP. So it would basically, from my understanding, this is just based on my speculation, be the case that such a SAP would say that we're studying Russian craft or something like that, high-tech Russian craft, experimental Russian craft, or something like that, some of which has been captured. But maybe they could be saying, we're studying foreign craft with potential next generation technology associated to them, and that's what they're saying: foreign craft, next generation technology, or something like that. So, but in actual reality, it could be the case that foreign means non-human intelligence, and they're just hiding behind it basically, and they're making some excuse saying, no, it's this instead. Factually, what they're saying when they're saying foreign and next generational, that wouldn't be a lie because it is foreign. but you see what I mean? It could potentially come down to that. They could be, hiding their illegal activity from Congress.
Okay, last one. I know I said that was the last one, but David Smethurst, who's been a supporter of ours. Yeah, I love David. Do the pair of you think that the Senate passing the IAA bill means they don't believe Dr. Kirkpatrick, believe Dr. K and he should be sacked? I don't know. I'm not sure who he is, but specifically Dr. Kirkpatrick. I mean, that's a really excellent question. I don't know.
So the director of the AARO still has lots of responsibilities in terms of this language. So, for instance, any person, let's say, that has UAP activities or material or information deriving from current or previous, U.S. government association, would have to report to the director of the AARO. So, and then it would be up to the AARO to just kind of spread that information to the key committees. So Kirkpatrick would still have a lot of responsibility, and it would still come down to a matter of trust. So it's difficult. I don't know. There's some people who predicted that Kirkpatrick won't last for long. Let's see if those predictions come true. But as I see it, there's no indication yet, although they are kind of going outside of his comfort zone. I'd say his comfort zone is to kind of write papers with Abbey Loeb, and, for peer-reviewed journals and stuff like that, and kind of do analysis basically on videos and stuff like that, and that's his comfort zone. So kind of pushing him more to the direction of kind of getting into the weeds, the bureaucracy, and looking into such programs is outside of his comfort zone, in my opinion. And you could suggest that it needs someone else to actually take the lead. You could see someone like Kirkpatrick, of his pedigree, kind of like being involved within the AARO team, because you need some really, really good science involved in there in terms of information you're receiving and analysis that you're doing. But actually, for it to be led like someone like that, no, it needs someone like Lou, I'd say.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, he's obviously a brilliant man. I'm sure he has great intentions. But yeah, I think like organizationally, the structure would be having someone like Lou Elizondo run it, and then you have one leg of that organization be the science wing, and so you have someone like Dr. Shankar Patrick or Dr. Shankar Patrick himself running that. I think that would be a much better use of his talent. David did add here on the chat. He goes, "What I mean is, he said there is no credible evidence, so he should not run it as he has no credibility." And I don't disagree with that because obviously he seems to have this sort of predisposed conclusion. And again, do you want somebody that's busy doing peer-reviewed papers and yeah, anyway, don't get me started. But anyway, we've covered a lot. Is there anything that we haven't touched on? I know things were kind of crazy with our technical train wreck that we had earlier.
No. Other than I just want to really thank your viewers for for watching me and asking some great questions as well, and just thank you everyone for their support recently. It's been a tough few weeks, becoming a father for the second time. And
congratulations.
Going back, thank you. Going back and forth from the hospital, and there's been lots going on, and getting these articles out hasn't been easy. So, I mean, for everyone and their kind words and support, and for all my patrons and people like that, it's just been a godsend, and I couldn't have done it without you. So, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the support that you've provided me. So, and that includes you as well, Matt. Thank you for being such a great friend.
Likewise.
And I like to think you're a colleague as well. So, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. And I tell you what, as I said, you're covering this topic with the rigor that the Washington Post reporters reported on Watergate. They obviously didn't have the rigor to cover Dave Grusch. That's unfortunate. But I think we're seeing kind of the death of mainstream media, and it's journalists like yourself that are really doing the hard work. And I think all of us are grateful for that. And yeah, so and folks, please, all of us that make this content, it does not come free. We have subscriptions and to pay for, and we're all trying to put food on the table. So no matter who it is, Chris, myself, any of these other people that are doing really good work, we all have the bills to pay, and these things, these stories take time to write. These podcasts take time to produce. So we rely on the generosity of people supporting us on Patreon and Super Chats and whatever method. So in the YouTube description, Chris, we have your links on there. We love following your work on Twitter, and of course, tell your friends about the Liberation Times. You will go down in history on this topic. I am 100% convinced for your hard work, and more importantly, your integrity on this issue. And we very much appreciate it. And folks, if you haven't hit the like, subscribe button, follow button, all that kind of stuff, that helps us get great interviews like this out in the public. The more likes and comments, all that stuff, that's what the Twitter algorithm looks at, YouTube looks at. And that's what causes these platforms to organically push these programs out to viewers that aren't tracking this subject. And as we always say, call your representatives, call your senator's office, call your congressman's office, demand transparency on this issue, and demand hearings. And let's hear from David Grusch under oath at one of these hearings, and we have to get to the bottom of this. Chris, thank you very much for staying up so late. Best wishes to your family, and And please thank your wife. She probably hates me now, keeping you up so late. So as they say, happy wife, happy life, and hopefully there are no helicopters circling your place and messing with your streaming setup. But anyway, Chris, thank you for being such a great friend, and yeah, man, we'll see what this week brings us. Anyway, thanks for joining us. I'm Matt. This is Good Trouble Show. Chris Sharp, thanks for being on, and we'll see you guys next time.